All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about a absolutely shocking turn of events in boxing. Tim Bradley has something positive to say about Errol Spence against Terence Crawford. Amazing. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about what one of the best 140/147 pound fighters in the last 20 years has to say about the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight. And that is Tim Bradley, who is the commentator for ESPN, who must really think that the fight is getting close because he most certainly switched up his prediction for this fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford and sounds a lot like me. Now, before I get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're a longtime subscriber and supporter, thank you guys so much for your support on the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button. And then so that you'll be notified of when we release more videos. Hit that subscribe button, join the community. We really do have a lot of really good conversations that go on throughout the year, different boxing topics. We just happen to be a little bit Errol Spence, Terence Crawford focused right now over the last couple weeks, because that really is the hot topic in boxing. And there's not a lot of really big fights going on. We do tonight, of course, have a very good unification fight in the light heavyweight division. So make sure you guys go check that out between Arthur Beterbiev and Joe Smith. We'll definitely be tuning into that one. But as I was getting ready for this fight, I came across a new interview by Tim that was given, that Tim Bradley gave. And Tim Bradley, long story short, didn't do a complete 180 on Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford predictions, but he did do a 360, which means he turned around, looked at the other direction for a minute, and then came back around and kept his predictions somewhat the same. However, the acknowledgement that he made or the admission that he made to me basically tells you that most of the other stuff he had said before was a lot of hyperbole and a lot of act, right? So what is that? Previously, Tim Bradley said that Terence Crawford was going to knock out Errol Spence Jr. He doesn't have a chance, all of that stuff. Now it seems as if Tim Bradley, because this fight is looking like it's getting closer, is starting to get his predictions a little bit more in line with what I consider to be reality. And so what did he say? He says, look, man, Errol Spence Jr. can easily beat Terence Crawford. He said he being Tim Bradley favors Terence Crawford, but he can definitely see how Errol Spence Jr. may very well win that fight. He did not go out on a limb like he usually does. Didn't go out on a limb like James Toney, talking about a knockout in 6 rounds and all of that. And what was his logic? Now, not to make it sound like I think I know as much about boxing as Tim Bradley, because I will admit in a minute, man, definitely not with what's going on in that ring. That is a world champion, I do believe he's a multi-time world champion. I think he was a world champion at 140 and 147 pounds. Excellent fighter, right? But what he said was essentially the same thing that I said. Is like, look, man, this fight really, even though I have Errol Spence Jr. and I know that this fight can go either way. And he said specifically one of the things that about Errol, he was like the pressure of Errol Spence Jr., the fact that Errol does make mistakes, but he covers up a lot of those mistakes with volume. And he pointed out something that I've said multiple times, and I was so glad that Tim Bradley said that, was that the southpaw stance with Errol Spence Jr. is a factor to be considered when you're talking about who will win the fight. Now, the reason that that he said it is like he has that really strong, stiff southpaw jab. And what is that? What problem does that cause Terence Crawford? It caused Terence Crawford this problem. Terence usually fights in a southpaw stance. Many people refer to him as a guy that switches stances, and he does switch stances. He'll start off a fight orthodox. Sometimes for the most part, he'll start off orthodox. And within the first round, usually sometime in the first round, at the latest, sometime in the second round, he will switch to southpaw. And then he uses southpaw as more of a defensive ploy in a way to, I think, bide him a little bit of time while he figures out and looks for holes in the other guy's game. And when the other person is making an adjustment, makes adjustments to the southpaw stance, he'll then switch to the orthodox stance when he catches them and he sees an opening, and then he usually will attack a guy in the orthodox stance. Now, the problem with that with Errol Spence Jr. or with anybody that is a southpaw, is that Errol being a southpaw and Terence Crawford switching from orthodox to southpaw against a southpaw does not allow Terence to fend off the jab in the southpaw stance, because now you basically have if you're fighting an orthodox fighter and you have your southpaw, and you switch to southpaw, now your jab is directly in front of their jab. Your lead hand let me say it that way. Your lead hand is directly in front of the other person's lead hand, and you're able to block and parry that shot, right? And the two hands can kind of play with each other at the top, right? Out in front, and you can knock it down, right? And then have people being not used to that straight right, that straight left hand, they can come behind it, right? But when you're doing that with a southpaw, it's not going to work, because then Errol Spence Jr.'s jab is on the same side as your backhand. And so he can come and, his jab might actually be more effective. And what you see that is one of the reasons that matchmakers had said about, from Top Rank had said about Terence Crawford, that they don't like to match Terence Crawford against southpaws because Terence Crawford leaves himself open to southpaws. And why would he leave himself open to southpaws? He fights in a southpaw stance, and honestly, sometimes he really does drop his hands. Tim Bradley also admitted that Errol Spence Jr. is more fundamentally sound in the fact that he's very, very, orthodox and does not make a lot of mistakes, right? So now he did say that he picks Terence Crawford to win the fight because of Terence Crawford's footwork. He says he believes Terence Crawford has better footwork than Errol, and that would be the difference. And he's going to be able to get in and get out on Errol. Personally, I think that is I think that may be a misnomer. Errol has very good footwork, but he's trying to come forward at you. So his footwork is about cutting off the ring and being able to take slight angles to the left and to the right, staying off the line and being able to, come, to the left or to the right while he gets on the inside. But, Tim Bradley did say like Errol will step straight back. He will go straight back from time to time. He will get caught in the middle. Also said Terence had errors that he goes back sometimes. He drops his hand sometimes. So it's going to be an interesting fight. But anyway, it was really nice to hear Tim Bradley kind of come from the more, sensational type of comments about his guy, because he called him TC. He's like, it's my guy TC. And that's reasonable. And it's not, I want to be very clear. And in all these videos we do about this fight, it's not unreasonable to think Terence Crawford's going to win. It's not unreasonable to think Errol Spence Jr. is going to win. It's a close fight. It's a 50-50 fight or 49-51, whatever it is. Close fight that we hope gets made. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.